Hi, my name is Damon with LoanBidz.com. Today we're going to talk about using other people's money to get your deals funded. And what I'm referring to here are private lenders. So stick with me. If you like what you hear, hit subscribe and I'll be right back. All right, let's get into it. Here is how you use other people's money in the private lending world to build your portfolio. So, most of my clients are engaged in the BRRRR method, where they're buying value-added properties at a discount. They're spending, between the purchase and the renovation, about 70% of that after repair value. So if they can stay with those types of numbers in their buy, they can position themselves to have very little or sometimes zero money in that particular transaction. Okay, so that's your first rule. The second thing is, let's position you to get the very largest loan amount for that rehab loan. Okay, what do I got to do to get a 90% to 100% of cost transaction in the private lending world? Well, the first thing you need is to be able to have experience. All of these lenders are really driving their loan amounts based upon some level of experience. On our platform, you can get 90 to 100% of the cost, meaning the purchase price and the rehab, if you've got just 3 experience, and in some cases maybe even less than that. But if you can position yourself as a newer investor to partner with someone who's got some experience in your first few transactions, that will get you that higher leverage, that 90 to 100% of cost. Okay? So if you now, let's use an example here. Let's say you go out and buy a property for $70,000. You've got a $30,000 rehab budget, so your cost is $100,000. Okay, now your ARV, let's say, is $150,000. Okay, so those numbers should work in a BRRRR transaction. So if you can find deals like that, this will work. So in this particular case, you can go ahead and finance 90% of that purchase price, and sometimes even 100% of the purchase price, and 100% of the rehab dollars if you've got 3 experience and a credit score typically above 680. Okay? And in those particular situations, you will have, about $7 to $10,000 in that particular transaction at the BRRRR method, plus your closing costs of about $5,000. Okay, in that particular case, now you go through the rehab. And if you got $30,000 rehab, maybe that takes you 90 days to get done, maybe another month to get a renter in place. So you're about 120 days out. Now you've got a property worth $150,000. You've got a loan amount of about $90,000 on that particular property. And in this particular case, now you're ready to refinance it. So let's talk about refinancing. So with refinancing, if you've got your credit score at above 680 to really above 700 is the level where you really need to be to get 75% LTV on your refinance. Some lenders are at 700, some are at 720. So the better you can be on the credit score, that's really the driver for your LTV on your refinance. So in this particular example, you've got a $150,000 property. You go ahead and refinance that property at 75 LTV. Because let's say your credit score is 720. You now created a loan of $112,000 essentially. And in that particular example, you now have paid off that $90,000 loan. You've had some costs associated with that initial loan, call it $5,000. You've got some costs associated with the new loan, call it another $5,000. You now essentially have recaptured that money that you invested in that BRRRR transaction in that initial value added property, and now you're ready to go do the next deal. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope it does. So let's talk about how you get there. So again, the key things are position your experience. Try to make sure you can show that you've got at least 3 to 5 rehabs, rental properties. Some lenders will accept property sales, but kind of assess where you are on the experience level. If you're not making it to the point where you can get 90 to 100%, with the private lender, go find a partner for those first few deals. Find a partner who can bring maybe some assets, bring some experience. You'll actually learn from them in your first few transactions and maybe not make some of those mistakes. So get positioned with experience. 3 to 5 rehabs, it can be new constructions. Some lenders will even accept a realtor license as experience. It doesn't sound logical, but lending isn't always logical. So with that particular thing said, get that experience where it needs to be. The second thing is get your FICO score where it needs to be. So if need be, go out and get a tri-merge report. We can actually help you with that if you like. We have a free service where we can pull a tri-merge credit report, which is exactly the same report that all the private lenders use. We can give you a copy of that report for free. And let's say you're not really where you want to be. Let's say you want to get to that 700 or 720 level so you can get 75 LTV, but you're at 690. We have a simulator tool where we can tell you precisely how to adjust your credit profile, which is maybe pay off a little bit of a credit card here and there around the edges and get your score up to that level where you get that best deal. Because most times, getting that max loan amount might also come with a better rate too. So again, get your credit score, target really 720 if you want the max leverage to leverage your BRRRR strategy. One of the pitfalls that many of our investors fall into is going out and taking the 0% interest rate credit cards. They load up those balances to do their rehab deals and their credit scores tank. Don't do that. Yes, 0% money sounds wonderful, but if you're going to go out and open up credit cards, do them in the name of your LLC so that they won't show on your personal credit report, because those balances go into affecting your personal score if you take them out in your personal name. So again, manage your credit score, because that's critical for any BRRRR investor to make sure that you get the very best deal. The highest leverage, meaning that highest loan amounts, and the best rates and the best overall fees involved in these transactions. So do that properly. And then when you're ready to go, find a trusted private lender who you can work with, who can get you a very best deal. If you'd like, we can help you with that. We have most of the top private lenders on LoanBidz.com. We can shop it for you. One of the great things about LoanBidz is that we make lenders compete for your business. So we're actually in your court. We're not a lender. We don't want to be a lender. We want to be that advocate for our real estate investors to find them the best deal. So let's summarize here. Get your experience together, get your FICO score together, and one other thing is make sure you've got a little bit of liquidity. That's number 3. I have a lot of investors come to me and they want to buy a $600,000 property and they've got $10,000 in the bank. And they say, well, you can do 100% financing. Well, yes, but the lenders and private lenders involved in 100% financing still are going to want to make sure that you've got some level of liquidity to cover a cost overrun. So they're not going to lend to somebody who has no money, the private lenders, even if they do 100% lending. So what I tell my clients is make sure you got at least $30,000 squirreled away between maybe you and a partner or somebody before you get into that particular transaction. Even if you're seeking 100% financing or 90% financing, you may not need it all. But the lenders are going to want to see that you've got some excess reserves in case you run into problems, and make sure that you can work out of those problems without a default occurring. So does that make sense? So, credit score, experience. Let me back up. It was experience first. Try to get 3 to 5 experience. Credit score. To get the very best LTV, try to get yourself to 720. We can help you with that. And lastly, liquidity. Make sure before you get into any transaction, you got at least $30,000 available. Again, you might not need it all. But make sure you have that available before you get into that particular sales contract. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, hit subscribe if you like it. And if you like our help with the credit score and finding out where you are and how to get to where you want to go, give us a call, 636-552-4710, or simply go to LoanBidz.com. If you've got a loan request, take 3 minutes, put in your loan request, and one of our account executives will reach out to you promptly. So until next time, everyone continue to stay safe.